We are Group 2 and the company that we would like to introduce today is Netflix. Here is our table of contents.
This is Timothy, and let me start with the introduction. Netflix is an American content platform and production company founded in 1997. It is headquartered in Los Gatos, California. In 2021, it has about 10 sub-companies, the main one, which are limited companies and around the globe, such as London, Singapore, and Brazil. So currently, we think that the main competitors of Netflix are HBO, Disney+, Apple TV, and YouTube Premium. Then I will continue with the financial performance of Netflix. It has its initial public offering in 2002, and it has surpassed Disney to become the most valuable entertainment company since 2018. And in 2020, it has about 25 billion revenue. In the third part of the introduction, I will be talking about some timeline, which include the main events and some of the film release. Among all the well-known movies and dramas, I will name a few. House of Cards and Orange Was the New Black series was both launched in 2013, and the company also released its first feature film in 2015.
I'm Joshua Mo. Me and Matthew Yong are going to talk about the cost-volume analysis of Netflix.
The first issue is cost-volume profit analysis. To determine whether it's worth to invest more on movies and dramas, the first step is to compare the cost of different years, and the second step is to compare the sales volume and net profit of it. The change in net profit and cost will show how the efficiency of Netflix investing in movies and dramas, and it can show that whether it's worth to invest in it. For the second issue, it will be the structure of Netflix cost. According to the annual report and the resource on high, we found out that investing in dramas and movies contributes a lot in the whole payments of Netflix cost. The fixed cost of Netflix is not that big, it is around 12% of the total cost, and around 63% will be the investing in the dramas and movie costs, and it have around more than a half of the contribution of the total cost, which is very big, and therefore it will be the biggest variable cost of Netflix. Here is the comparison of a 5-year cumulative total return. In the graph, you can see that Netflix has an upward slope and the slope is steeper than other stocks in the market. It can show that the cumulative total return of Netflix is increasing in a rapid way, and it can show that the performance of Netflix is better than other stocks in the market. Here is the summary results and forecast for Netflix in 2020. You can see that in 2019 and 2020, the revenue is continuously increasing in the periods. It shows that under pandemic and COVID-19, the revenue of Netflix hasn't decreased but eventually increased.
This table is about the cost of revenues of Netflix. The cost of revenues of Netflix is mostly dominated by investing in movies and dramas. As we can see, comparing from 2018 to 2020, the cost of revenue increased from 9 million to 15 million, while the cost of revenue is slightly slower when comparing as a percentage of revenues from 63% to 61%. A financial comparison site Banker estimates spending will not slow down this year, as the number of Netflix subscribers reaches a new global high, which is 195.1 million households. Banker predicts that the company will invest $19.03 billion in the United States. However, since COVID-19 isn't leaving soon, it will have to stop production on several shows. From the graph, we can see that the budget spending is slower and slower each year. So, while Netflix spending will decrease in the long run, the demand of the content will only increase. Based on the performance highlight of Netflix, we can find that the rise in consolidated sales was attributed to a 24% increase in average monthly revenue per paying membership, and a 1% increase in average monthly revenue per paying membership. Their price increases and plan mix contributed to a rise in average monthly revenue per paying membership, which was partly offset by unfavorable fluctuations in foreign exchange rates. Additionally, The paid net membership grew 31% year-over-year for the year end December 31, 2020, as a result of the long-term shift towards streaming on-demand content and the COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in social controls and local government requirements of home confinement in some jurisdictions. The rise in operating margin is largely attributed to higher sales and lower marketing costs, as well as cost of revenues, technology and growth, and general and administrative costs increasing at a slower pace than revenue. Comparing the streaming revenue and DVD sales in 2018, 2019, and 2020, we can see that the table in the previous slide, it shows that the sales revenue of DVD is continuing decrease from 2018 to 2020. It decreases 34.5% and reaches more than one-third of the whole DVD sectors. And the streaming revenue has increased for almost 60.5%. It increases more than 1.5 times in 2 years. The statistics show two trends. The first one is people seldom buy DVD to watch during the past few years. Online streaming is more favorable to the public. Also, as we can see, the percentage drop in DVD is smaller than the percentage rise in streaming revenue. It means that more people are joining online streaming, not just the people transferring from watching DVD.
Now, let's look at some suggestions to Netflix. First, they should avoid inappropriate use of Netflix account. As we all know, Netflix supports streaming in different movies and dramas in different devices. An account may be used by more than one people to share the plan, but using the same plan for cheaper results. Therefore, Netflix should think of a plan to avoid multiple use of Netflix account. I suggest that each user of the plan must use their real name and address to register the account. Personal ID should be provided and only the user can log in the account. It can reduce the chance of multiple using of a single account. People will need to purchase a plan for themselves, and it can ensure an increase in sales volume. And the second suggestion is they should continue to decrease the investment in DVD. In recent years, the trend shows that people watch less DVDs and change to online streaming. Netflix should continue to decrease the inventory in DVD and sell more online streaming accounts. The reallocation of resources will enhance its efficiency.
Then let's move on to the Sector 3, Performance Measurements. Eliza and I, Yongting Chan, am going to talk about this
For
part.
Netflix, subscriber growth is one of its issues as it is an unpredictable indicator. In the fourth quarter of last year, Netflix added 8.51 million new subscribers in total, and overall number of subscribers has grown to 203.7 million. It is mainly because of the pandemic. Second, there will be several potential competitors, even though Netflix has a lot of content, but most of it are through buying copyrights. Disney Plus has brought a double whammy as it is not only creating a similar service compared to Netflix, it is also withdrawing content from Netflix. From analysis, Disney Fox portfolio accounts around 20% of all content available in Netflix. We will have to make difficult choice when facing so many streaming media platforms, as they will not subscribe to all streaming media services at the same time. In fact, as early as a few years ago, there were a lot of well-known overseas content on Netflix, but most of them are using the method of buying copyrights. Later, Netflix gradually realized the importance of localized content in overseas. But the cost of producing this content is not cheap. In 2019, Netflix spent $15.3 billion on content costs, while the entire 2019 revenue was only $20.15 billion.
My name is Yongting Chan, and I'm going to talk about the analysis of performance measurements. As you can see in this table, in 2016, the annual ROI is about 2%. But 5 years later, in 2020, the annual ROI has reached to 8.7%. It means that in the 5 years, the investment of Netflix is getting more and more efficient. Then we have to know the reason behind this performance. Then we have to have a deeper look at the operating assets and the net operating income. Then we have a look at the average operating asset and the net operating income in the 5 years. After the calculation, we can see that the average operating assets increased by about 2.5 times, but simultaneously, the net operating income in the 5 years increased by over 13 times. which means that according to the formula of ROI, we can see that it is net operating income that leads to the increase in ROI. To have a better understanding the reasons behind the changes in ROI, we have to look at the annual revenue. Annual revenue is highly related to the net income. So as you can see in this chart, since 2017, the revenue grows steadily years by years, and different business markets contribute different portions of the revenue as well. After knowing that Netflix have a steady growing annual revenue overall, then we have to have a different look at the difference between the markets. According to Netflix financial reports, the markets are separated into 4 categories. The first one is Asia Pacific, then Latin America, Europe and Middle East and Africa, and the last one is United States and Canada. As you can see in this chart, all 4 markets shows a growing trend. However, we have to deeper look at which market has the highest potential. Then we have a deeper look at the regional performance. Since the majority of the revenue comes from the membership fee, so we can see that the revenue actually highly related to the number of subscribers. And we compare the revenue in 2017 and 2020, and we can see that Asian Pacific has the highest potentials, and followed by the Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Except from the revenue, we also have to look at the operating exits. And in reason for you, the most significant change is the cost of revenue. Cost of revenue refers to the licensing cost, content production cost, and the investment in Netflix originals. As you can see that, although these costs occupies around 60 to 70% of the revenues, but do have a different look at to the exact number, we can see that the cost of revenue are growing, which means that Netflix invests more and more to their original content and licensing costs. After the analysis, there are 3 main points we will discuss. The first one is about the Asian market. As we saw in the previous slide, Asia has the highest potential among other regions, and especially for the Korean drama. Korean drama have the great success globally. So as a response, Netflix plans to invest $500 million in South Korea this year for the original content. And besides South Korea, they also invest more and more for content productions. Although invest more and cost more, but it simultaneously create a better ROI. So as a response, actually Netflix is developing a partnership with production company and also focus on the exclusive content. Besides the opportunities and strengths, there are also threats. So as we know, due to the COVID-19, there is a lot of uncertainty, but although in the first move on Netflix grow fast, but overall, annually, they fail to catch up with the booming demand in digital entertainment. So the company also states that they may be adversely affected due to the COVID-19. They have to focus on the customer relationship management in post-COVID generation.
Let's look at the suggestions. Innovation in content form. At the end of last year, Netflix launched Bandersnatch, an interactive movie version of drama and Black Mirror. It did help Netflix achieve innovative breakthroughs in content, establish a leading edge in the new field of interactive movies, and prompt Netflix to increase its investment in interactive content. This fast-paced, non-continuous short film is very in line with the characteristic of streaming media, but at present, there is still a shortage of such short film content. Lastly, pay attention to subtitle translation. In order to truly achieve content without borders, online subtitle translation tests and index systems are being used, but there still needs to be more improvement.
Here will be the brief conclusion of today's presentation. After using the cost volume profit analysis and the performance measurement approach, which both results indicate affirmative, as well as 90% of the content access is expected to be amortized, which means that the loan will be gradually repaid. Within 4 years after the launch, we have come to a conclusion that Netflix is worth investing in movies and dramas to attract more subscribers.
This is our presentation, And the next slide is our reference list.